What if I told you you have 2 weeks to prepare for an EMP? What are you going to do? Well, that question's really been on my mind, so let's talk about what we're going to do. Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. Jonathan and I have been very closely watching the world events and all the craziness that's been going on. And it sparked a conversation between us about if we had 2 weeks to prepare for an EMP, what would we do? Now, we've been preparing many years.
Yeah.
But if we knew that in 2 weeks we would no longer have power, all supply chains would be closed for an extended period of time, are we ready? And what would we do in that 2 weeks so that we could get ready?
Now, the real question that should be asked here is, why weren't we talking about evacuation or the grandkids? Instead, we're talking, but this is the reality, and this is part of this, is taking care of our family and helping our community, and hopefully this will benefit everyone. Hopefully this will be a place of discussion, a discussion that you can have as maybe a training exercise to see what you need to do and what we need to do to make sure we're ready.
We are not prophesying anything. We're not saying anything's going to happen, but we sat down and we came up with our list. If we had 2 weeks to prepare, this is the list and this is the order that we would do them in. And the number one and the first thing that I would do is to pray and to ask God for guidance. Because I have found in my life that sometimes when I plan things out, when I ask God to help me, He changes things and He knows all and He can see all. So by including Him right up front in whatever we're doing to prepare, it will bless us and help us go in the right direction.
The next thing that we talked about is security and communication, making sure that we can secure our home, making sure that our property is secure.
So going through and checking all those locks and just making sure, looking through it with the eyes of somebody else and implementing that plan.
And that we have the ability to communicate with our family however we best can. And there's a couple of mechanisms for doing that if the cell phones and everything else are down.
And that's really important. We should have been doing this all along, right? But we're gonna check the batteries on the radios. We're gonna make sure that everything's charged. We're gonna make sure that we're talking to each other and everybody knows the privacy channels, because sometimes we forget that. And then we're gonna tuck those away in a Faraday cage so that it would be protected from the initial pulse so that we still have those tools. As far as home security goes, there are a few things that we would do, like we have cameras that are on a whole house system, but then we also have wireless cameras that are in the yard. I would probably pull those down and stick them into a Faraday cage so that they would still be operable, because I think it's really important to be able to monitor what's going on. And they're solar panels, so they don't require power other than that. And the third thing we would do is fill up all of our fuel. We want to make sure that our propane tanks are full, that the spare gas that we need is full. We're just going to go and make sure that all that is there. Then we're going to go to the bank and get out some cash and small bills, because when you're in a barter system, you're going to want small bills because nobody's going to be making change for you. The other thing I would do is go and grab all of our hybrid lights. Hybrid lights are our very favorite. They're solar lights that are very dependable, and we have lots of them. I would take them and I would put them in a Faraday cage. I don't know if they would be damaged by an EMP, but if I've got this 2 weeks to think about it, I'm not going to take a chance. I'm going to tuck them away where they won't be hurt.
And I should make a point right here. A lot of this assumes that we know and nobody else knows. Because if everybody knows, it's going to be madness out there, and we're probably just better off staying home.
Absolutely.
So that makes a case for just having everything ready, no matter what's going on. But anyway.
But we're real life and we're real people.
Yeah.
And in theory, everything would be perfect. And in reality, that's not the way it is.
Exactly right. The next item that we talked about is water and sanitation. I personally think that sanitation is one of the most overlooked areas in our preparedness for most people. It's something that we just take for granted, that the sewer system is going to work and that our water is going to be delivered to us. Probably in most cases, that isn't going to be the case. Things aren't going to be working. So, do we have our water storage?
Is it clean? Is it fresh? Is it 50 years
old? Do we
old?
have it renewed so that it's ready for us to use? Do we have the filters that we need to find more water and to sanitize it? Do we have the ability, especially to deal with human waste? Because that is such a disease-causing issue, but also the ability to wash dishes, wash laundry, take showers.
Without a lot of water.
Or, whatever we need to do to stay clean and healthy.
The fifth thing that we would do is go and refill any prescription medications. Look at our over-the-counter medications. Are they expired? Do we need to have any more? Are we running low on anything? Are there any like diabetic supplies that we need to make sure that we have so that we're okay?
And then we talk about shelter and clothing, thermal comfort. So the ability for us to stay warm in the winter, cool in the summer, all the kinds of things that go into keeping us comfortable, and not that we always need to be comfortable, but we need to be safe. Extremes of cold, extremes of heat can be deadly, and do we have the ability to take care of those needs and keep everybody strong and healthy?
And remember, if you've got growing families, in a year from now, are you still going to have a coat that will fit them? Or are you going to have shoes that will fit them? Shoes are one of the most important things that you can have. If you have injuries to your feet, it affects everything. So make sure that you've got shoes that are comfortable in the right sizes that could last you for a year or more, however long it takes for society to kind of reset itself and get manufacturing back in place. Yeah. Number 7 is our community and mutual aid, because as soon as I've got that in place, I'm going to reach out to my friends and my neighbors and I'm going to say, hey, we have this coming. What do you need to do to get ready? And how can we help you? Because we've got to work together. You know, it's interesting because families and communities survive not because of what they had or their supplies, but because they had each other. So while going and topping off our supplies is really important, it is our friends or mutual aid group or our community that's going to enable us actually to survive.
And truly, community is probably the most significant, because together we have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have the support and the help that we need from each other. So make sure we're building our community. The next one we talked about is information and making sure that we have documentation of all the important things and that we have hard copies of it. In a digital world, sometimes we just think, well, we've got it on our phone or we've got it on our computer, but we really need to have these things printed out. And make sure that you have a great reference library, because while the internet is awesome and there's all kinds of good information and some bad information on there as well, when that's gone, we're going to be relying on paper. So make sure that you've got a good reference library.
Number 9 is your evacuation preps. Yes, we want to stay in our home more than anything, but it is possible that you will need to evacuate. In fact, if you live in a large city, it might be a really good idea to evacuate to someplace safer as soon as you hear the information. The earlier you get out, the better off you're going to be. But you have to have a place to go. And so that's one of the reasons that right at the very beginning, we're communicating with our family, because there are definitely some of them who will need to come and stay here. We will need to make accommodations for that. This is a really good time to tune up your evacuation kits. Make sure that you have all of the maps that you need so that you very clearly understand, because there's no Google Maps or Siri or anything to tell you where you need to go or where you're at. You want to make sure that your family and others understand what the routes are, where the rally points are. Good communication is just hugely important in this.
And finally, what about food production? Do you have the ability to produce some of your own food? And obviously, we advocate for you to have a good supply of food in your home, a 3-month supply of everyday foods and a longer-term supply of foods. But do you have the ability to add to that in garden production or tree production? Do you have the tools that you need? Do you have seeds? Do you have the expertise? Or do you know people in your community that will help you? And the ability to preserve that food, canning supplies, whatever those supplies need to look like. Do you have the ability to at least provide some of your own food?
We had a very interesting family conversation the other night with some of our extended family, and somebody had brought up that one of the recommendations was to have a pound of wheat per person per day. And she just felt like that was no way could anybody eat that much wheat every day. Well, let me tell you, a pound of wheat a day only has a little bit less than 1,300 calories in it. If that is all the food that you have, a pound of wheat a day isn't enough. So when we look at these long-term events, it's really important that in your long-term storage that you have at least 300 for really, really starvation rations, but 400 pounds of grain per person for a year's supply and 60 pounds of legumes. And then if you have that caloric base, then you can grow your garden vegetables, which are fabulous, don't have a lot of calories, but will supplement the nutrition. If you're going to try and grow enough, say potatoes or corn or wheat on your own, it takes a lot of land. But for those of us that can just have a little backyard garden to supplement that, you need a lot of food storage. You need a lot of basics. We have an incredible sister channel that my daughter-in-law and Amanda and I are doing. It's called the Provident Gardener. I would highly encourage you to go over there and check out some of those videos, because we talk about how to produce your own food, real people, right? And trying to do it in a way where we can really feed our family and increase the nutrition. In this long-term scenario, if we have an electromagnetic pulse that wipes out all of the electricity for a year or more, think about how valuable it will be if you are able to produce some of your own food. And that means that you get started yesterday.
Yeah, or today if you didn't already get started. So there you have it. That's some of the discussion that we've had, and hopefully you will have a similar discussion, because even though it may be a little uncomfortable to think about this, it's important that we do think about it, that we have these discussions, that we figure all this out in advance. We've been doing this for a lot of years. So in many ways, I feel like we're in a pretty good place, but there's always more that can be done, and there's more that can be done to build our community and to help others.
I would sure love a 2-week warning for an EMP or for an earthquake or for any of these things that just happen without warning, right? Wouldn't it be nice? Like you see a hurricane coming and you've got some time to prepare. Usually for things like an EMP or an earthquake, we just don't have those warnings. All right, my friends. So for our question of the day today, if you had 2 weeks notice that an EMP was about to strike, what would you do? Comment below. Let's have some really good discussion, and let's help each other get ready. Things have escalated in our world. We don't know what's happening. We might never have an EMP, but quite frankly, it kind of looks like that's a real possibility. And we want to be ready for it, and we want to be able to take care of each other.
And tell us what we missed in our discussions.
Yeah.
Because we've had this discussion, but there may be other things that we should probably address as well. So yeah, put those things in the comments. Let's learn from each other and have some great discussion. And thanks for being part of the solution.